want to say defending champion. In the world of football, we should say the champion, isn't it?
So when you talk of Kapata, you are not just talking about Kapata per market and then it ends there. We've got my new houses. Though they are called new houses, but they were built in my late 70s. Why can't we start lobbying for industries? When you look at the way our farmers are being exploited, when you look at our farmers, the way they suffer just to grow that tobacco, look at them. I did perform very well and I was told I was going to be given a 3-year contract. Unfortunately, I received a 6-month contract. Bazabwela using their agent. Nakupa patilani. Voters card yanu na regi yanu ndiye weapon yanu yamene muzasebenzesa kuti muchinje destiny ya Zambia. But as long as muzatamangira 50 kwacha, as long as muzatamangira 20 kwacha olo chitenje mwachinja voters card yanu, then you are doomed.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Zedhouse Podcast. Another interesting episode. And of course, on this particular one, we're going to be diving into the life of the former Kapata Ward Councillor, Mr. Mathews Kachali, and also is aspiring to become again the ward councillor. I want to say defending champion. In the world of football, we should say the champion, isn't it? You know, Kapata is one of the famous, I should say, residential area in Zambia. It is known. And some people that are coming to Chipata, there's a saying that you cannot be in Chipata if you have not visited Kapata. You know Kapata very well. Bamba meaning but you cannot be in Chipata without visiting Kapata.
Yeah. So, like you've said by nature, you know, Kapata houses the famous Kapata market where there is that bus terminus. So, mulendo aliyense, sikuta mabwela na bus. So, ngati nikukwela mkwelera pa Kapata. Ngati nikuseruka mserukira pa Kapata. Then that's when you start making your own errands. Yeah, nishisunafike mchipata kai. Ukaserukira munjira nishisunafike pachipata.
But somebody told me that there are a lot of activities, you know, that happens pa Kapata that many people do not know about. With your stay in Chipata, do you have something that you can say? But there is this that I've noticed that people maybe don't know about.
By nature mwene mwaka mbira pali muntu pali ponse pali ma activities, but there are those activities, yes, that are done depending on how people feel they can do their lives. Bena ngoma chitavo bisika, those things are there, but kutini kambe kuti Kapata is a devil, as in a place. No, Kapata is friendly, though we have got pockets of a few to my activities to illicit here and there, but it's generally peaceful. It's a nice place to be. Yeah, but
minimum, but those that are coming, well, that are coming for the first time in Chipata, they would think that Kapata, ni place, not Masovela.
Yeah, Kapata ni place. Kapata ni place. Kapata ni place. Like we've said, Kapata houses also decay. Stadium.
Yes, stadium.
It houses
the only stadium, in fact.
It houses the cathedral, St. Dan's Cathedral. We've got RCZ down shops. We've got down shops here, man. They're all in Kapata. So when you talk of Kapata, you are not just talking about Kapata per market and then it ends there. We've got my new houses. Though they are called new houses, but they were built in my late 70s. Yes, but they're called new houses. Oh, okay. There's Anoya, the famous Togo boys. Okay, the Chipata Day, Anoya have produced. No, Chizongo is Msanga Ward.
Oh, okay. There is Msanga Ward. Oh, okay. But what do you think, with your experience in politics and also being, you've been a leader, a civic leader for 5 years. What do you think should change about Kapata in terms of infrastructure, or should something that should come, which Kapata, something that is not there?
Yeah, so challenge amene tinkala nayo, more especially us from a political side. Timangala challenge na ma technocrats. You know, these technocrats ngati simuli nabo very serious. They can use you and people would see you to be a bad person. Okay, you know, when you look at our local authorities, timangala na ma planners, we've got my engineers. But when you look at the way the planning is done, baganizira pamene balidi, they're not thinking of tomorrow or maybe some years to come. Okay, so when you look at Kapata, I can tell you apakuti we do not have enough space where we can say tingaikeko chaso, unless you start demolishing certain buildings, or maybe you start buying my buildings and then you start demolishing. That is when we can say we can have space. But as it is, you know, the plan was quite alright. Kuli banzatu amene banayiyamba, but famene tangenamo any available space, because we had too much spaces to amene bana benzo sobereramo. If you go there, the places have been advertised, others have built churches, others have built homes. We don't even have places where our children can play from. Okay, all the spaces have been taken on. We had my places run by the local authority, my buildings, Yaba Council. If you look at them, it's a sorry side. So we have a lot of things that we can talk about in Kapata. We do not have filling stations. We do not have malls. We do not have maybe my supermarkets. We only have to my small shops. So,
but there are places like Old Bait Stadium, places like Kaunda Square. Several people have interviewed pa Kaunda Square, pa Jabakamba pa Itabe Mitengo. There's something can be done there.
I usually refuse when a person tells me Old Bait, because when you tell me Old Bait, where is New Bait? Okay, that one is Bait Stadium. And you know how that Bait Stadium came about? It was one of the Kabeta Stadium that was done by then, and it was named after the former First Lady, may her soul rest in peace, Mama Betty Kaunda. Okay, so it became old in the sense that when DK was being built, which is David Kaunda, it looked new and modern than that stadium. And then vandalism started taking place. That is how people are referring it to Old Bait. But otherwise, that one should be Bait Stadium. If over old, yes, people might think, but otherwise, it should be Bait Stadium. And of course, Mamene Mwakambira, that stadium is supposed to be given a facelift. But like I've said, we've got planners, we've got engineers. We do not have deliberate programs to say, let's do this for our youths, let's do this for
us. Who's got the influence to do that? Is it ward councillor, the MP, the mayor? For a long time, don't you feel that the Bait Stadium has been neglected?
It has been neglected. You know, problem here, if I'm a politicians, we want to take advantage. And then once we want to take advantage, the technocrats also manipulate on us. And once that is done, then things will not work properly. So I wouldn't say it is the responsibility of the earlier councillor. I wouldn't say it is the responsibility of the mayor. It is the responsibility of all of us collectively. Okay, remember these duties that we are performing are not personal duties, are not duties that you are going to take home with. They are duties that are supposed to be done for the community. Even you as a leader, you are going to benefit. But the bigger picture is the people you are representing. So for us, like for me, as former earlier councillor, my role was to advocate for what people wanted in my ward. Where things were not moving, we needed to find ways on how things can move. Where we lacked, we needed to find things, how do we get them? Of course, we've got the central government when it comes to capital project. We've got some other projects that we can do as a local authority where, you know, we were sitting as councillors and with the mayor. But again, we've got the guidelines. You not just go in the chamber and then start doing things that you think you do. There are guidelines that you have to follow. There are procedures that you will have to follow. So you may find that you'd want to do this. Then when you look at the guidelines, the procedures, they're against that. You need to come up with bylaws, and then, you know, sometimes there are certain things that you have to do. And then when you don't have support from your colleagues.
You've done to mention about bylaws. Your term, 5-year term that you've been a councillor, are there some laws that you did make as a local council?
No, we've never done any bylaws. We've never.
Somebody told me that
you did it?
No, we never did that. You know, the problem with us was the combination of our council, okay, where we had most of the councillors were from opposition, and then we had independent ones. We only had one councillor from the ruling party who came in as a result of a by-election we had in a Kapata Ward. So you'd find that there was some situations of a push and pull, where this would do this, that one would do that. Sometimes even the technocrats were not helping us. Okay, sometimes you'd want to put up something, then they'll just come and say, no, this cannot be done. This has to be done like that. And you can't take it outside because you do not have that support from the people that would want to support you. So those were some of the challenges that we faced during our tenure.
Right. This is the Zedhouse Podcast. It's an interesting episode. I'm talking to Mr. Mathews Kachali. He's the former Kapata Ward councillor. We'll dive much into look at his term period when he was councillor and also look at his ambitions going forward. Big shout out to Mike Ngwenyama behind the camera. We are at the Uncle Chipeta Hotel here in Chipata. Ensure that you visit Uncle Chipeta Hotel. They've got nice, wonderful rooms, also a conference room, and many other things that you would want to actually see when you come here. So ensure that you visit the Uncle Chipeta Hotel here in Chipata City. Mr. Kachali, there's a lot to talk about, you know. And I'm glad that you actually made it to this particular podcast.
I'm really humbled for hosting me. You know, it's not an easy thing. You know, you need to look at this, you look at that, logistics, looking for venues, all those stuffs. I mean, I'm really humbled to be hosted on your podcast. And I should confess here that you are doing a great job with your team. I would only wish you all the best and God's blessings as you endeavor to do what you are doing.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Kachali. Before you became councillor, what were you doing?
Wow.
That was before 2021, isn't it?
Yes. When I completed my grade 12 at Chipata Day, that was in 2000. You know, I had to look for what to do next. So I did a little bit of some ego business, which couldn't work out. And then I went to Lusaka with the hope of going to school. I actually wanted to do journalism. So I went at Evelyn Horn.
That's why you love radio so much.
Yeah, maybe. maybe that. So when I went to Evelyn Horn, I started, unfortunately, things couldn't go my way because of sponsorship. The person who had started sponsoring me pulled out due to family issues, and then that's how I came back. So when I came back, started, you know, running up and down. Luckily, I got a job with Zesco that was in 2005 as a meter reader. I worked under contract. Those were 6 months contract. I worked up to 2010. So in 2010, you know, the issues of contracts, you know, we went for interviews. Our colleagues were given my 3 years contract. We continued working for, you know, the same 6 months until in 2010 when my contract expired and our colleagues who were given my 3 years contract also expired. I was again renewed for another 6 months contract. So I felt management was unfair. I went, I told the human resource, then Mr. Kanyawinya. I mean, I was working as a meter reader on a 6 months contract. We were with our colleagues who were working as meter readers on a 3-year contract. The salary was different. I was getting 720 kwacha. They were getting 2,000 plus. They were entitled to loans. They were entitled to electricity. But we never had those entitlements. The same job, reporting to the same boss, handling the same paperwork. And I'd worked from 2005, okay, just on 6 months contract. And so these colleagues, when they came, others were working with them quite all right. So I worked.
Were they looking at qualifications?
Not really qualifications. I mean, I don't know, just the way the world crazy is. Yeah, the system, yeah. So we had gone for interviews that time, of which I remember it was NRDC, I did perform very well, and I was told I was going to be given a 3-year contract. Unfortunately, I received a 6-month contract. I accepted, though with pains, I accepted. I worked under the same conditions with our colleagues until that 3 years came to an end. I was hoping that the way I worked, the human resource knew, and my bosses knew the way I was working. And so I thought maybe they would give me that leeway to also get a 3-year contract. Unfortunately, I was given a 6-month contract. Again, my colleagues were renewed on a 3-year contract. So I went to the human resource, lodged in a complaint. The only response I got from the human resource was that there are a lot of people that are looking for this job. If you are tired of it, you can go. So I felt that was unfair. And so we had to arrange with my colleagues, Clement, we had Lolozi, and that's how we left for Lusaka. But Lolozi didn't make it. We left for Lusaka. We went to the headquarters. We lodged in our complaint, though at first people didn't look at us. Luckily enough, God has got his own ways on how he does things. We met Mr. Banda. I think I should remember Mr. Banda. We talked to him because then he knew my father. So when we talked to him, we said, "Is that the case?" Then he asked us to give our to give him the contract. That's why given our results and everything was done. And then he said, "No, we'll look into this." And when they looked into that, we were given 3 years contract. Okay. So now what happened was I was transferred to go to Chama, and my colleague Clement was sent to go to Chadiza. So when we came back from Lusaka, we reported at Zedhouse Podcast. Then we were working. So
well, Moses is happy with that.
No, they were not happy. That's why they recommended that we should go to, I should go to Cham, and then my colleague to go to to Chadiza. They were not happy. So our immediate supervisor, then Mr. Kaluba, had said, "I'm surprised as to why you people have been given these letters to go to Chama and Chadiza, because in Chama, they don't want a meter reader, they want a handyman. And your letter doesn't say a handyman." But because I don't know what happened to Mr. Kanyawunyawe, I don't know if how he felt it, he insisted that we should go, of which I went to Chama. So there I worked, though I had some tough time. I worked, due to the little experience, I started sorting out things, meter reading. We used to have fake readings. Readings could not even correlate with what was in the system. So it was a battle. It's like I messed up things, yet I was trying to control them. Luckily enough, things were controlled, and some people were not happy. Then later on, there was an issue where one of the cashiers had some problems in Lundazi until he was dismissed, and I was told to sit in. So I did sit in. I worked. I was, just working like that. So I told my supervisor by then, Mr. Mlenga, to say, "What I'm doing, this is money, and these things are not supposed to be like this." So I worked for more than 8 months, just, sitting in. So luckily enough, we had a new commercial manager who had just come. So she visited Chama on her familiarization tour. We met, we talked, and I did lodge my complaint to say this is the situation that I was in. And she said, "Oh, I understand." Then in January, that was 2012, I received a letter to designate me from meter reader to cashier. Yeah, so not knowing, I had my challenges with my boss because, we never had a bank in Lunda, in Chama. We only had NatSave, and Zasco was not subscribed to that. So each time we do ourselves, we could go to Lundazi and do the deposits. So we used to carry, some passengers because, that time in 2012, the road was bad and transport was scarce. So we could carry some people who could ask for transport. But I used to say, look, these people that we are carrying money. Anything can happen. So it's like some people were not happy with what I said until some issues started. Not knowing, there were some auditors that came, and I had my office in the manager's office. So monies were in the office, manager's office. The other money was in the booth that I was using. So I had money this side, the other money this side. And these people, I remember it was there was a Mr. Banda and another man who had come were auditors. They did their audit. Everything was okay. But because I had kept my money separate, they suspected that I was using money for private things. I talked to them, things couldn't work out, and they reported that I had stolen the money. I had all the documents, all the monies were there, everything. I could run up and down here and there. I went until I was dismissed. That's how I lost employment in Zesco. And wow, it pained me. So as I was chasing
were they, while you talk about your bosses not being happy with you, were there other people that pushed for your dismissal?
I should believe so, because, what used to happen is that, I'm on air here. I have to say the truth. What used to happen is that some people could be given wrong pills and people could be threatened with disconnections. So because people could feel, being disconnected, they started becoming good to the bosses, like buying them beers and the like. So when things were controlled, people were okay, and those things ended. And people, when they come, they would want to say, we want to see Kachali because I did help them to do the right thing. So some people were not happy with that. And that is where that thing for me started from. Okay. And that's how I lost my employment. So whilst I was pushing for my case to go to court, somebody just told me to say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So this struck my mind, and I said, what do you mean? He says, Mwana, you can run up around, you can do what? If there's, you don't know, nobody, you don't know anybody who can come in and help you. You will not go anywhere. And that's how I said, I think there's no hope. And I stopped chasing the case. I withdrew because I'd taken it to industrial court. I withdrew the case and I came back home, looked at my family, and I had to start from scratch, of which I did. And that's how I joined politics. Yeah.
Did you get into politics because you wanted employment?
No. I got into politics because I knew politicians could influence decisions. And so I wanted us to do politics in a different way. Not politics to enrich myself, but to provide an enabling environment for my community. And so I started doing politics at a local level. I started as mobilizing IPS under my section. And then I was elevated until I rose up to a position of a youth chairperson for Kapata Ward. So the issues of the WDCs started in 2016. Yeah.
Way before you became a councillor. What councillor?
Yes, I was working with the Mighty Patriotic Front, and then I resigned as Kapata Ward Youth Chairperson. I joined the WDC. So I went for elections. Luckily, I won. Then when we went to the WDC itself, I was elected as secretary, and from there we started working.
Wait, before we get to how you became a councillor in 2021, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Does working as a WDC help in mobilization for you to become a councillor?
My goal then was not to become a councillor, was just to work and contribute to my community.
Oh.
Okay. So with the decentralization system, it's power to the people. So the power was in our hands. So now, because I've been close to the people in my ward, like I've said, I worked for Zesco from 2005 up to 2010 there. I was a meter reader. I could go house by house, delivering bills, reading meters. So I knew the area. Okay. I could know the challenges, the crossing points, the roads. I used to have that kind of experience. So from there, I think I should thank God that maybe the time I was working for Zesco, God was preparing me to get to know what is on the ground, because I could get close to the people. So maybe God was, preparing me for that. And then when I went to Chama, maybe that was how I lost contact. Then he found a way on how to bring me back to Chipata. And then I came back and, I picked it from there. And then, like I've said, I went to WDC and I was working. When you are a leader, you are not doing things for yourself. You are doing things for the community. So I had to listen to what the community was saying, and I had to find ways on, okay, it's Shamene Wakamba Bantu, Chifuni Kobwera Branch, Chichokela Kuti. So I could find ways on how to go into offices, interact with service providers. One of it was the local authority, the council, because it's one of its core mandate, a service provision to the people. And then we also had, well-wishers. We also had, the corporate world, where maybe companies would also do a charity work, community work. So we could go and lobby from such organization and from such people.
One of the reasons as to why you joined politics was to basically be able to influence decision making.
Yes.
In your term, the 5-year term as Kapata Ward Councillor, what are some of the...
So before you go to my term in Kapata as earlier councillor, I worked as secretary to WDC. During our time, we made sure that what people wanted was what was done. So one of the issues that was a thorn was a police post. You remember we have an area called Navutika, and people felt Navutika was a notorious place. People can't go there. Police officers can't go there. So we said, no. We need to change this narrative. So there was a project of a police post. Wow, some illicit activities were there, but not the way people were making them. They were just exaggerating. Yes, a few pockets of illicit activities were there, dagger smoking, fights, those things used to be there, but not to the extent where people could exaggerate them. So we felt there was a project that was started by Honorable Mangani that time, and a number of MPs came. A police post was not done. So during our tenure, thank God, that time we had the councillor who was Mr. Naftali Banda, and then we had the MP, Honorable Moses Mawere. I should thank these people because they could listen to what we were saying at the grassroots. So one of our projects that we undertook was a police post under the same CDF component, which was a 1.6 million. So we did the police post in Navutika in 2 phases, first phase and the second phase. And I would say the time that I was going into the office as earlier councillor, that is when even this police post was commissioned. Okay, so we did that police post. We did Navutika market, the benches in the market under CDF. We did Sangurukani market. Okay, we did some crossing points. We did some
Sangurukani market, the Commander market.
Yes, the Commander market. So all those projects were done under CDF. So we could basically go to the people, hear what people were saying, and together as a team, we could look at priorities. We never looked at political affiliation, where did this one come, but we looked at, if this thing comes to the community, it is going to benefit all of us. And so we did those things. So when we had our elections in 2021, prior to that, we had seen people, vying for higher position, others were coming in. And so Mr. Naftali Banda then, who was our earlier councillor, felt he was going to vie for mayorship. And there was some sort of, a vacancy. Not really a vacancy, but people felt we needed a councillor to fill that position. So people that I worked with could WDC, and of course people said, I think you've worked very well with your earlier councillor. I think it's high time that you can also fit in his shoes. And Mr. Banda was also very handy to say, no, if it all goes well, I will not leave you behind. We'll work together. We'll continue working the way we've been working. Unfortunately, he was not adopted as a mayoral candidate. Luckily, to my side, I was adopted. Though we had a few competitors, I was adopted. And going into 2021 election, by God's grace, I scooped the position of a councillor. And from there, we continued speaking and advocating for the people of Kapata Ward.
Okay, let's get to the question. The influence in decision making, what are some of the things that you can point and say, okay, I influence this, I influence this, I influence this?
There are a number of them by nature. One of the issues that was a thorn was the famous Mtilansembe Gari.
Okay.
That issue never gave us peace because, I come from the same area. I could see when water is flooding. I could see people being carried away, being carried by the current of water. I could see
being destroyed.
Yes, but even people just, being taken by the current of water. So that was one of the issues that we spoke highly, though we never had the influence because of the resources, but we spoke highly, we lobbied until we were heard and the Mtilansembe was started.
What happened? How much was funded for that?
Wow, Mtilansembe got about 1.2 million, and then there was another extra about a 500. So it got about 1.7 million. And then right now, as I'm saying, we also lobbied for an extension of Mtilansembe Gari. So from where we had stopped, I believe anytime, because paperwork was already done, anytime you may see the works starting.
What was done?
Well, we didn't do very much. We did about less than a kilometer from where the source of water started up to the Navutika bridge, the bridge that connects Mtilansembe to Navutika. That's where the project ended due to resources. So we were lobbying that the construction should continue from the same bridge going up to our target was that this should connect up to Chizongwe Bridge, where we have RCZ Church there, where it demarcates with Msanga Ward. So my prayer is that if the people of Kapata Ward will give me another mandate, we should finish that Gari up to Chizongwe Bridge, which connects Chizongwe, where we have RCZ Church. But for now, I can tell you that we did push, we lobbied. Thank God, Honorable Mtolo heard our cry that Gari should be continued, because where it is going, it can claim a lot of lives. There's an area called Nyelele there. A number of houses were also submerged and they collapsed. So we lobbied and they heard, I'm sure all the paperwork was done. In this year's CDF, we are supposed to see works continuing from the Navutika Bridge going up to Nyelele there. And so if the people of Kapata Ward will give me another mandate, I'll still lobby and push so that from where it will end, it has to be connected up to where I've said, so that we secure the properties of the people in Mtilansembe. We also secure the lives of the people. The other problem is when you look at Nadalisika, just there at the junction, that is where that Gari starts from. Even that part has also been eaten up. So we are also trying to say, if the people of Kapata Ward do still give me the mandate, I'll still lobby for that, so that the construction should start from Nadalisika. It has to join up to where we had stopped. So that is one of the things. And then the other thing, of course, are crossing points. We really lobbied to push for crossing points. Some were done, some were not done. One of the notables was the one that Mr. Naftali had left at Kaucho Village. We completed. We also initiated another bridge called Kanyaupume within showgrounds. It was also done where, our school-going pupils are using that path. We lobbied for that. It was done. We also did the other bridge in Navutika. When you go after Kumalashakuja, you go, there is a Chikachere. We also did a bridge there. It was also a problem. We did that. We also did a number of boreholes through cooperating partners, the Muslim Association, the mayor himself, former mayor, Mr. George Mwanza. He was very handy in helping us push for boreholes, as well as the mechanized system where we had tanks and of course the solar system. Others were using power generated where you pump water into the tanks and then they come down to the taps. So we did the lobby for that. We also did some opening of roads. Some areas don't have proper roads. People have encroached the roads and the roads are small, such that vehicles cannot pass. We went into those areas, made sure that a grader passes so that the road is opened, and then of course see to say these roads are passable, and of course we see that we don't have challenges when it comes to road. The unfortunate part is that the roads we are doing are gravel roads, and we couldn't even add some gravel, just grade. And so this also was a problem, because when we were in our council, we could not purchase the entire set of equipment. We only had a grader. So going forward, if the people of Kapata Ward will give us a mandate, we'll make sure that if the CDF will continue to be the way it is, we'll lobby for full set. The bulldozer has to be there, the water bowser, the compactor, so that when we are doing these gravel roads,
Are there some that you feel you regret you should have prioritized?
Yes. The number one thing is the same issue that I'm telling you of buying the set of equipment of the graders. Because when you look at the roads that we graded, we did not do much. It was some sort of a sheer waste of resources, where today you grade, you loosen the soil. When the rains comes, we are surrounded by hills. So the pressure of water when it comes, it used to come with force. At the end of the day, what we could do was washed out, and the roads could become again gullies. And the money that spent on those roads were not could not count, because it was like 10 steps forward, 15 steps backwards. So I regret that we never did that, because of course we had teething issues with the office bearers, the MP, the mayor, the councillors, those teething issues, and those could make us not come to term quickly to do what was right for ourselves.
What you say in terms of water, with the help with from cooperating partners, you did provide bores here and there.
Yes.
The area is like top one, where people, are being challenged with water. How much influence, advocacy did you do in terms of, helping those people?
Yeah, so
the challenge is still there. And Dema is top one. The Kapata Ward 01, somebody called the radio. We were having such a conversation. They were saying, man, Kapata is 01.
That is very true. But nature, when you look at Chimwemwe, it's a pity. It's a pity that we can have a situation like that. Why am I saying it is a pity? Because when you go to Chimwemwe, that is where Matanks Yaba Eastern Water and Sanitation Yalili. Even Bazungu Banzatu, when they were staying there was a natural spring that they were using that could collect water and bring it to Matanks. But because I don't know kuti mamenity leaders as Africans, tizivika kuti tuononga vintu, that system was vandalized. And when you look at the situation that we went through, Eastern Water and Sanitation had some challenges, load shedding, their equipment, the pumps, the water system was broken down. So for them to pump enough water, there was that challenge. So like I've said, we really lobbied for some hand pump boreholes. If you go there, you find a number of them, though they were not enough, because when you look at most of the houses there, they have got airborne toilets. That when you use that toilet, you need water. So you need water to use in toilets. People use water to bath, water to clean, all the activities needed water. So they were not enough. His worship, the mayor, the former mayor, Mr. George Mwanza, came in with the mechanized boreholes that have, the water schemes that I've told you. We have one in Chimwemwe. We have these hand pump boreholes. Through CDF, through cooperating partners, including the mayor himself and our colleagues from Kuwait who came on board, and the Muslim Association. Now, what we did was we partnered with the Eastern Water and Sanitation. We felt drilling of an industrial borehole would be okay. And in 2025, some monies were allocated from CDF to enable by Eastern Water and Sanitation. And this was done in Magazine. If you've heard of a water scheme that is done by Eastern Water in Magazine, it's the same water scheme that will be done in Kapata, particularly here, Kumamba, where we are going to drill an industrial borehole. This industrial borehole will now feed in the water and the sanitation system. Okay? So that water will not be coming from Kukudam kwa Eastern Water. It will be coming from the industrial borehole, feed in those tanks. And once it is done, then you will see stable supply of water. That is already being done. It's just that my contractual obligation and the like, but I can tell you that we've moved forward. Things are going to be seen very soon, as long as the contractor does their work. So we are working with Eastern Water and Sanitation. Some allocation were already done.
How did you work with the area MP?
Wow, we used to have some issues with the area member of parliament, because we were working with his worship, the mayor, and the mayor had indicated his interest to vie for mayorship, for MP before the constituency was delimited. So this did not sit well with the area member of parliament then, because he was in the office, and then why should the mayor express his interest? So he felt we were working with the mayor, and for him, he felt we were also enemies to him, of which personally, people never followed me as Mathews Kachali. They followed me as area councillor. So we were supposed to have a difference. Personal things and the community things. When it comes to people looking for Councillor Mathews Kachali, they never looked for Mr. Kachali. So I should have separated that. If they were to look for Mr. Kachali, I would have dealt with him as Mr. Kachali. But when it comes to councillor, I have to respond as area councillor, as their representative. So we went to we worked with the mayor, not for him as Mr. George Mwanza, but we worked with him as the mayor, as a person who we knew we could work with. We went to the former MP as the member of parliament, not as Mr. Untold. So we did that, but of course
it's difficult to present to him, to bring to his attention some challenges.
So this is what I'm saying. Some challenges could go, but of course the council had also its own way of operating. So we could find that when it comes to CDF, we needed to agree on certain things. Okay. But when it comes to performance of the local authority, we could also find ways on how to work. So like you've said, we had those teething challenges to work, not until certain things we could agree and certain things we could move together.
Kachali, how did you work with the WDC during your tenure? Were you in good books with the WDC?
Well, for me, I was in good books because, like I've told you, I was separating. Okay, I never looked at my colleagues in WDC as individuals. I looked at them as part of the system, like I am part of the system. And for the system to work, it has to be a complete system. But what was happening is like my colleagues had some personal agendas. Okay, they were using WDC as a stepping stone to get to what they wanted, of which personally,
what do they want?
Of course, others wanted to become councillors. Others, yes, others wanted to become councillors. Others wanted to get benefits for their personal gain. Okay, you'd find that maybe they would push a project not really where it is supposed to go, but maybe closer to them or maybe closer to their friend. So using their positions, they could do such things. So I used to have such challenges.
Not only one, many.
A number of them, because look, what happened was that I was coming from an opposition and them were coming from a ruling party. So for them to deal with me, they had to make a cartel. They had to fuse in people that were aligned to a political party, so that when they say this, it will be a voice, a collective voice. Whereas me, I'll be like a loner. Okay, so those are the challenges that I was facing.
Well, yeah, at some point you had an encounter with the WDC. Can you clear this?
Wow.
So on some part of social media.
Yeah.
Encounter with him. What happened?
Yes, this issue was there. This issue was there because at some point we are talking about the same water challenges. So I had posted on my Facebook that water shortage has hit Kapata Ward. And I even got pictures from the areas that were affected. One of it was Chipata, was Chumwemwe. The other area was Navutika. Okay. So when I posted that, not knowing, because I wasn't sitting in a CDF committee, there was a project that the CDF had reserved some resources for the entire constituency to look at the water challenges. Okay. So one of the officers called me to say, we saw you posting something on your Facebook. I said, yes. Would you tell us those areas? So I called the people responsible, the zonal representatives of those areas. One of them was Madam Grace Mulongwe, who was coming from Chimwemwe. So I spoke to her. I said, there's this issue. And she said, no, we are ready to do that. So I took the team from the council, took them to the zonal representative, because that is what the procedure tells. And then we were showed the boreholes to work on. Unfortunately, for the whole Kapata Ward, we are only given 7 boreholes to repair. So we did 2 boreholes in Chimwemwe, and then I called Mr. Soko, who was the zonal representative for Ecclesia zone. Unfortunately to him, he told me the boreholes were already done. So I went to Navutika. As we were doing these boreholes, the section chairpersons came and said, we have got a challenge here, my boreholes. But you didn't hear our cry. I said, no, I called your zonal representative. He told me to say those boreholes were worked on. And they said, no, these boreholes were not worked on. So we went there and truly we found that the boreholes were not worked on. So we worked on the boreholes.
But why do you think he said that?
Like I've told you, they had made a cartel. Their target was to see me fail. Their target was to see that I was not representing the people, of which I think some people even saw it. So we went there with the guys. They worked on the boreholes. So now what happened was that for that particular day, we only worked on 4 boreholes. And we were told to say, okay, we'll come the next time because we are supposed to go into these other wards. So I had remained with 3 boreholes to be done in my ward, of which they were there, I knew them. So what happened is it took 2 months without these 3 boreholes being repaired. So I started making follow-ups, not knowing that my WDC chairperson had written a letter querying the town clerk that I was doing things that I was not supposed to do. So he wrote a letter to the town clerk. And then the town clerk, through his subordinates, started circulating that letter to find out what could have been the problem. And in that letter, he had insisted that I, as earlier councillor, should be oriented because I was doing things over my boundaries. I was doing things that were not supposed to be done by me. And he also wanted to know how much.
Before writing the letter, did he call you?
No, we never sat. And that letter he wrote, he also wanted to know how much was involved, and he wanted to know who the contractor was, such things. And then he said, no, he needed me to be sat down, to be talked to as early as possible. So when I didn't know. So he had written this letter to the town clerk, copied this letter to the MP, copied this letter to the DC, copied this letter to the CDFC chairperson. And all these people sat on this letter without even telling me. So when I was making follow-ups at the council to find out why are these 3 boreholes remaining not to be worked on, and people could not give me the feedback. Not until one of the officers who said, no, I think let me open up. There's this letter here where your WDC chairperson queried that you did not inform him that you are doing things on your own. And I said, no, this is not the way things are. So I captured this letter. I waited for a meeting for the entire committee. And so when we were doing my approvals for the bursaries, I requested the committee, the WDC committee. I said, I have this issue in my hands. I presented it to them. I said, can you read this letter? So they read this letter, and all the colleagues said, no, we are not aware and we don't remember sitting to write this letter. And when you look at that letter, it is only saying one person, and who is the chairperson. The secretary was not aware. Even these other committee members were not aware. And I asked them one by one. I said, Madam Mulongo, didn't I call you that there's this project? She said, no, you called us. So where was I doing things in isolation? Who prepared the meals for the workers from the council to eat? No, it was us. Who provided the meals? No, it was you. So how did I do things in isolation? Mr. Soko, didn't I call you that there's this project that is supposed to be done? What did you tell me? You said the works were done. But your section chairman came and said the works were not done. And so I'm surprised as to why you guys did this. And instead of you to call me, we see it to say, our councillor, there's this issue. Why didn't you do that? And the DC received this copy, never called me to say, how are you working? The MP got this copy, never called me. It took 3 months. And so I said, I think this type of politics you are doing is not going to help us. We are here to save the people, not to save personal interest. And I also blamed the people from the council, because when they got this information, they could have called us, sit us down to say, we've seen this, already had petitioned, but they never wanted to take action because they feared. They looked at their personal interest to say, maybe if we are going to intervene, we may be transferred or maybe we may be fired because this person comes from a ruling party. I don't know. We never sat. And so I took this thing upon myself and I confronted my colleague and I told them, I said, this is not a political time. This time is for us to save and we're supposed to save the people. And so that fracas was there. Luckily enough, we were separated by the same members and that is what happened. So this never happened once. It happened, and for me to reach that extent, it got out of hand because these issues were not personal issues. These issues were for the community. And so I felt just letting these things flow like this, I think things were not going to help us, as people are supposed to provide the service to the people. And of course, to provide the service to the people that we saw that we are going to represent. And that is what happened. It's unfortunate that my phone is down. I would have shown you the letter that was written. I have it in my phone.
Were there, just a quick one, were there a time when you guys were in good terms with the WDC?
For me, I've always been in good terms with everyone because I know I cannot work in isolation. I know for me to work, there must be a system. But I never knew that my colleagues had hidden agendas. It was only when I started seeing strange things happening, that is when I realized that I was sitting among wolves. I was not sitting amongst sheep, because I can tell you I've got evidence. The letter that is there is something that even at the council it was there. The DC had the copy, the MP had the copy, the CDFC committee chairperson had the copy, but they also never bothered to bring us to say, these are the issues. And look, if you looked at me, I was earlier councillor for Kapata Ward, not a zonal representative. I represented the entire ward. And how on earth can a WDC chairperson tell me to say I'm overstepping my boundaries? And for me, when I look at his roles and responsibilities, at that particular time, he was also a zonal representative. He only assumes his roles when the WDC have met. But as long as he's in his own zone, he's a zonal representative. He can only be a zonal chairperson when the WDC has been convened. That is why we have got a ward deck. That is WDEC, which is Ward Development Executive Committee. But when we have a Ward Development Committee, it is all the zonal leaders coming together.
That's to mean that he was more junior to you?
Of course. Of course. He was elected in a zone. And the zonal representative elected him as a what? As a zonal chairperson under Ward Development Executive Committee. Okay, for me, I was elected by the entire ward. And even when you look at their mandate, it is 2.5 years. That is the first mandate. Then they can recontest for the second mandate. But for me, it is the entire 5 years. And I represent the what? The local authority.
Now, I know we're winding up. I want us to touch on the issue of your contest now as Kapata Ward Councillor. People on the ground wanted you to vie for a higher position. Why did you decide to recontest as a Kapata Ward Councillor again?
Yeah, so there were two issues. The first issue was that Mr. Banda wanted to recontest as mayor. And you know, when you are providing a service, you don't fight. You just provide that service. So it would have been immature for me to start fighting for a position. So I had to hold back. Secondly, I did not have resources. This, I'll be very honest with you. I never went to be a councillor to amass wealth. I went there to provide a service. And of course, if there were opportunities for me, I could get those opportunities. But I never went there to swindle people, neither to disadvantage people. I never did that. And when you look at the mayoral position, it catered for the 2 constituencies then. By now, it caters for 3 constituencies, which is Wangeni, Chipata Central, and Chipata North. I needed logistics to move from point A to point B. So I felt it was not necessary for me to provide the service at a higher level. But of course, even where I am, of course, I've told you there are certain issues that I felt I'm not done with Kapata Ward. One of it is the issue to do with the water reticulation. The other thing is to do with the crossing points. The other thing is to do with the imaging gullies that I imaging. So it was not really for me to to vie for a higher position. That's when I can provide the service. So due to these 2 things, and of course, the certain things that I felt I was not done with, it is better I continue on the same level. And of course, if it was meant that I'm going to be a mayor for the seat of Chipata, so be it. I'm putting it into God's hand and the people of Chipata district. Of course, the issues to do with the MPship. We have Chipata North now. We have got Chipata Central. Any position that can come that people can feel I can save, I can gladly accept.
From your heart, you wanted to vie for that.
Of course, when I looked at the people that were vying for mayorship, I felt they were missing something. I felt that, and I still feel.
All of it?
Of course, because there's no way you can be saying things that are not there and you expect to achieve. Because most of them, when I look at what they are saying, and the little time that I've been in the council, I'm seeing them missing. Because even me, before I went into the council.
What are they saying?
Of course, I could hear people saying they would turn Chipata into Dubai. I could hear people saying, when I get into that office, I'm going to make sure that workers get employment. I mean, I was wondering, those are not the things that are supposed to be there. Okay? When you look at Chipata, we've got the business community. We've got our marketeers. We've got the cooperating partners. We've got chiefs. We are supposed to come together. That, for me, that would have been the starting point. We come together. How do you look at Chipata? Then we get their views. Because if you just say, I'm going to do this, and you don't get other people's views, then you are missing a point. For me, when you look at Chipata, we've got farmers. We do not have industries. How do we harmonize? I think it's high time we stop giving residential plots. We need to look at areas where we can bring industries. We need to look at issues like our rail line. We need to look at the dry port there. Look at the congestion in our roads. We need to open up roads. It's not just a matter of giving plots. It's not just a matter of,
those that are contesting, the candidates, who do you think can make a good mess?
For me, I'll be very honest with you. I'm rallying behind the candidate of Silungwe. Johnson Silungwe has been a councillor for Masupe Ward. We've been together in the chamber. I know his weakness. I know his strength. And I'll be able to remind him, if at all, the people of Chipata district will go by him to say, my brother, this is not what we promised the people, because I know the people of Kapata Ward will not throw me in the dustbin. They'll reconsider me to continue with the programs that we started in Kapata. So I'll be able to tell him to say, my brother, we never did things well because of this, and I don't expect you to do that. That one, I know I can do that. Because if we are just going to have people who are just going to come, we are going to have people who are going to do job on training. I'm not saying I'm not saying it is not good for people to be there, but at least we need to see people that understand the system and understand what they're supposed to do. For me, you remember we had more than 26 candidates vying for mayorship. Do you know the reason? They felt the former mayor managed to win there and there was no one to defend that seat. So anyone can do it. If the former mayor did it, they can also do it. Okay, him as a young mayor, because he was saying young mayor and they felt things were easy. I felt that position is not an easy position. It needs a person with sober mind. It needs a person who understands the system. But if you're just going to bring a person from without, then we're going to compromise the system. Remember, in the council, we've got people that have got papers. We've got people that have got degrees. Others have got PhDs. And it is not going to be easy for one just to sit and start telling them what to do. It is going to be someone who needs maturity, someone who needs to understand the system, even if he's being preyed on. I'll tell you one thing that I came to learn about our technocrats. We were having situations where you are given a voluminous minute book of this nature at 22 hours and you are expected to sit in the council chamber at 9 hours to start deliberating on those issues. And if you were to sit in the council chamber, you would find that people are just flipping pages without understanding. And so if you cannot take time to go through those, you find that you pass things, the next day people comes, start querying, and they'll just tell you to say, no, as a council you sat and you approved. So you need a person who is going to be dedicated. You need a person who is going to provide checks and balances. You need a person who is going to take time and understand the system.
Mr. Kachali, do you think you're going to win back your seats?
Wow, that is not in my hands. That is in the hands of the people of Kapata Ward. And for me, I can tell you here without shame that I advocated for people of Kapata Ward. I never had resources to say is ndalama zachoka mtumba mwanga or nayotu wala ndalama naika mtumba mwanga. No, I spoke for the people of Kapata Ward. In areas where I did not fail, it was not me who has failed. It was because somewhere, somehow, resources never came for us to implement that, or maybe resources delayed. And I can tell you to say, if all goes well, this one I'll tell you here and now, that if I were to change and vie for a different position, I would rather vie for Member of Parliament. Why am I saying so? I've seen the last 5 years, our Parliament was a circus. Our Parliament never did the right thing. You saw how speakers could conduct debates. You saw how these members of parliament could toast each other here and there. I don't think that is the way our parliament was supposed to be done. If you saw what happened in the last days of our parliament, people were passing more than 70-something bills in 4 days. Where were they all that time? How important were these bills? Okay? It took the president to return one of the bills, which was the assembly bill, whatever they could call it. People were just in a hurry to pass bills that are affecting the country. And for me, I feel if we can have light-minded people in parliament, even these certain things that we are talking about can be a thing of the past. People are talking about, borrowing. People are busy passing these, and yet you can't look at the way our economy is performing. So for me, I can tell you by nature that the last 5 years of our parliament was a circus. And if I had certain things within my powers, I would say 75% of the members of parliament we saw should not go back, because they messed up things. That place is a respected place. It is a national assembly. That is where the law, our laws are passed. Our laws can be changed. But see the way things were done. I wouldn't be proud to say I come from Zambia if a clip of the circus that was happening in parliament could be shown when I'm in Malawi, could be shown when I'm in Tanzania, could be shown when I'm in Mozambique. So for me, I can even call upon my fellow youths that it is high time that we stop clapping our hands when we are given handouts. It's high time that we forget about handouts. It is high time that we think, how are we going to sustain our country? For example, here in Eastern Province, we do not have industries. Why can't we start lobbying for industries? When you look at the way our farmers are being exploited, when you look at our farmers, the way they suffer just to grow that tobacco, look at them. But here we are doing wrong things. For the last time, Wanecha, we are in an election period. Nifuna nipempe kuli mwe bantu bamene muna ma voters card. You are going to see us coming. Tizamba kubwela. Chonde nikupempani. Osaesa kutenga voters card yanu na regi yanu kupasa muntu wandale. I know benango bazabwela direct ma candidate. Bazabwela using their agent. Na kupa patilani. Voters card yanu na regi yanu ndiye weapon yanu yamene muzasebenzesa kuti muchinje destiny ya Zambia. But as long as mzatamangira 50 kwacha, as long as mzatamangira 20 kwacha olochitenje mwachinja voters card yanu, then you are doomed. I just wanted to make this passionate appeal. The other thing is to my fellow youths. Never should you be used to fight your brother. Never should you be used to perpetuate political violence. Remember, these people are protecting their own wealth, they are protecting their own powers. It is high time that you sit down and you look at your country. After this election, where are we going to be? After this election, what type of leaders do we want? Tifuna sogoleri ba mtundu bwanji. Chifukwa pamene hapa, ndiye pamene tili na chansi, yamene tinga chite redeem ziko yatu, pamene tili na chansi, pamene tinga sange bazisogoleri, pamene taona kuti abasogoleri, bangatitandize. Ngati taona kuti msogoleri sana sebenze bwino. Even ine mwamene nilili pano banecha. Ngati bantu Kapata Ward mwaona kuti sinafikepo pakufuna kwanu. You are going to speak pa 13th August. Just go and cast a vote against me. But if you feel I've worked well, and you need me to work well, it is on 13th. So please, ndeo kutukwanana siku za tukula ziko yatu. We need to have leaders that are going to be sober. We need leaders that are not going to use their people for their personal gain.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm really humbled.
From the Zedhouse Podcast.
Ziko mwanaemi kila kwambie.
Mr. Kachali is former Kapata Ward Councillor and also is he wants to take back there.
Yeah, by the grace of God, and of course by the wish and the will of the people of Kapata Ward. I'm not taking them for granted. You know, Kapata Ward is cosmopolitan. Muli bantu bopunzira kuchira ise, muli bantu bandalama. But at the end of the day, we want a better Kapata for all of us.
All right, my name is Neta VK and I've been your host. We've been hosting here at the Untold Hotel in Spartan. Ensure that you visit Untold Hotel. Big shout outs to Mike Simba behind the cameras. You're doing an amazing thing, man. Shout out to you. Subscribe to this channel for you to watch more episodes to come. So bye-bye for now.
Thank you.